Hello, everyone. I thought you might benefit from a quick review of direct format. And in fact, all of your memos in here are basically three paragraphs. You'll have your opening, your explanation paragraph, and your close. And in direct format, it's even more formulaic because each of the paragraphs tends to have three sentences, except with the direct announcement you have a one sentence paragraph if you're a typewriter. And I'm pushing each of you to be a typewriter, meaning you're concise. You're not using a lot of extra verbiage to get to the point. That gives us room for the bullets. So it's basically a a three paragraph memo with bullet items whenever you can. Now let's go to that one sentence paragraph. How do you construct a one sentence paragraph? You've been told all your lives you can't have one sentence paragraphs, but in business writing, it's actually preferred. So we're going to write a one sentence paragraph for the direct announcement that you just did. And here's our goal. Our objective in the direct announcement is to tell them what to do, how to do it, and when to do it, all in one sentence. So a lot of you start with something like this: effective immediately or starting today, there will be a change. There is no reason to tell them there's going to be a change if we tell them what to do. Then it's clear that it's changing, right? So that's not effective writing. Effective writing will tell them what to do. What about this one? I see a lot. Starting today, I will be responsible for getting the time cards to Janie. Are we telling our audience what to do? No. We got to tell them what to do. So telling them what we're going to do only confuses the matter. Keep ourselves out of it. Just tell them what they need to do. All right, so sometimes you get this far. You say, starting today, all employee time cards are to be submitted by some unknown force to me, somehow, some way, all different kinds of ways, before Wednesday sometime. So now you've told them what's got to happen, but because we're using this passive voice, are to be submitted is passive. Doesn't say who's going to do the submitting, right? It just says it'll happen. And if you say to me, well, now you leave it open for all kinds of ways. This is your chance to take control of how this procedure flows from the get-go, from the very beginning. You can tell them exactly where you want all those time cards. If you do not, you will have them in your email, under your door, on your desk, in your chair, in various boxes, maybe outside your office. You will have them, you will be interrupted all the time. People trying to hand it to you. You can control this right here by simply stating where you want. Designate a spot. Designate how you want them to do it. Is it electronically to my email? That's kind of messy too. How about one box outside your door where they can submit things? Then they don't interrupt you and it all goes in one spot. And you can choose whatever you want to say for where they are submitted. The other vague thing here is sometime before Wednesday. Now your deadline's Wednesday, so you need a little buffer. So you're going to want to go with it the very least 5 p.m. Tuesday, or maybe noon Tuesday, or some of my students want it Monday by noon. That gives a little wiggle room in case something happens, in case you get busy, in case they forget. So those two places are vague because we're not really telling them how we want it submitted. We say, give it to me, but we don't say how, and we don't say when specifically. It's just sometime before Wednesday. So we're going to try again. And this one, a lot better because we're saying, you're the one to submit it. Please submit your time cards to me. Very simply put. So now we still have to worry about how and when. So here comes please submit your time cards to box, to the box on my door by the end of the day, Wednesday. So a lot of you want to use this end of day or close of business. Again, your end of day and their end of day may not match up. If you mean 5 p.m., say 5 p.m. Not only is it more concise, it is more specific and there's less chance of error. So end of day is not a good choice. Use a real time wherever you can. And you are learning that this week. So starting today, please submit your time cards to my door by 5 p.m. Wednesday, or to the box on my door. So now we have written in one sentence what to do, how to do it, and when to do it. And that's effective and that's direct. There was nothing that we started before this because the second paragraph is where we want to explain if they care to hear it. Now notice, this is another useful thing, is to put something very close to this in your subject line, especially when you think about emails. If they see time cards to my door by 5 p.m. Wednesday in the subject line, they are less likely to miss your deadline. It'll make your lives easier. So moving on, the explanation always goes in the middle. That'll be true of all your memos, that the second paragraph gets the explanation. But what were we talking about with explanations? In direct announcement, we want to say why there was a change. Why is it that we're announcing this? And any how-tos. That's why the bullets come right after the second paragraph, because they're kind of part of the second paragraph. If you say, as your explanation, I'm now responsible for getting the time cards to Janie by Wednesday, and if they're skimming, they're going to see Janie and they're going to see you, and they'll probably go with Janie because that's what they've always done. So we're going to take Janie out of the equation altogether to avoid confusion. Same thing with extra dates. If you want to say starting this Monday, turn your stuff in by Tuesday, you're going to confuse the issue. So take those all out. Take the extras out. And again, they're not that interested in what you're responsible for. They want to know why things have changed. So if they're reading this paragraph, they want to know that. So you're going to tell them now that our numbers exceed 500 because we've grown, right? And a lot of you who have done this will say it's just too overwhelming for Janie, which came out of the original assignment. I know I tricked you, but you know, in the workplace, that's how it really feels. And then you have to let it simmer down. Remember what your intention is. Your intention is to make this sound easy for them. It's to make a team. So you don't want to use negative words. And this week we're going to revise for negative words. So you're going to get rid of things like too overwhelming. That's very negative. So we're going to change that to because we are growing. Now that's positive. It feels good. It's exciting. It seeps into the subconscious of your reader. And now they feel like things are good and all is well with the world. And they're not as likely to look for things that are wrong. So because we are growing, each department will, not just me, each department will, we're going to do this. We're going to take individual care. And now your second sentence of this paragraph has to mention the new time cards that were created. Some of you forgot, I know. And if you say, I have created new time cards, well, good for you. So we are wanting to get the I out of there altogether and make it all about them. People only care to read things about themselves and what's important to them. So what do they really need to know about the time cards? Not who created them, but where they are, where they can locate them. So to streamline the process, you will find new time cards in the employee lounge resource box, or some of you put it online under the G Drive, or tell them where they can find it. And then your final sentence, the third sentence, will be your leader sentence into your list. So you have a couple choices here. In both cases, you want to say not the negative if you expect to get paid, which is how you feel at first. You want to say to ensure that you are paid accurately and on time. Please include. Now, if you do the please include, you're going to have one kind of list. But if you do the other, and I'll show you here how to do it. So I didn't stress this very much, so I'm going to explain it now. You use numbers when you have an ordered list, like things being done in a certain order. And you have bullets when it doesn't really matter what order they go in. So we have our basic explanation paragraph. We've got a leader that says please include, and if we use the please include, then we're going to have to, I'm going to move it up here. If we use the please include, then we're going to need nouns. And that's because you include things, items, nouns. So if we use nouns, we want them all to be nouns. That's how we make them parallel. And we can use bullets. So let's see what that looks like. So please include, for instance, your name, hours, explanation. These are all nouns. A name, an hour, an explanation. You can use a or the in front of it. It's a noun. A supervisor's signature. So we have 4 things. Doesn't matter what order you get them in. Just make sure they're all on there. Bullets. The other option, which is a little more active and actually might be a better choice, is to say, to ensure you're paid accurately and on time, please do the following, which is verbs. So please take action. And that means all of them would have to start with a verb. And you could use numbers because you may have a certain order you want them to do it in. So what does that look like? Record your hours. Explain overtime. So now these are actions. I record, I explain, I do this, right? I get a supervisor's signature and I submit. So record, explain, get, submit, something like that. All verbs, all starting the same way. Good. Now for the closing. Your third paragraph is always your closing, and it has 3 sentences too. And those sentences all have a specific role. You want to first build your team. You want to offer your contact information, and you want to repeat your deadline. So how do you build your team? Well, you want to say things like, I appreciate your cooperation in assisting us with this new process. And I will say, whoa, 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 whoa. If you say they have to cooperate, now it's suddenly a hard, arduous thing. When in fact it isn't. It isn't much different than what they were doing before. They used to submit to Janie, now they're submitting to you. So they have a new time card. They'll get used to it. So don't set this up as something that they have to cooperate with. Not to mention the fact that that's pretty cliche and doesn't sound very sincere. So what could you do instead? Well, you might say something like, you're excellent. I had originally told you it's your hard work that has built this company. And I thought hard's pretty negative, and I'm setting a tone of, life is hard here. So instead, you could say your excellent work, or your determination, or your teamwork, even your creativity, your ideas. All of those things would be a compliment to them and suggest and tie back into the reason why we made the change, which is we've grown, and why we want to make sure they get paid. So it's really about them. That first sentence is about them, and you're kind of appreciating them. Without using the I, notice I started with the your, so that it's about them, it feels like them, it doesn't feel like it's about you. If you have questions or concerns, do not hesitate to contact me, or please feel free to contact me. I used to love please feel free, not concise. Please feel free. 3 words. Do not hesitate. 3 words. And instead, you can just say, please. Please call me. So, again, you don't want to say questions or concerns. Number 1, it's cliche. And number 2, is this really up for debate? It isn't. It's an announcement. It's done. So you don't want to open that can of worms. You want to let the tone be, hey, I'm here to help you if you have a question about the procedure, not bring to me all the things that you don't like about the procedure, right? So let's leave it with just if you have questions about the new process. And then instead of contact, say how you want to be contacted, because you can control that too. If you only want them to email you, give them your email. Say, email me at, so that you can organize your time. If you only want them to call you, say, please call me at, and tell them what time you'll be taking those calls. If you only want to speak face to face, tell them, please meet with me every morning before 9 o'clock. I'm available. Just organize it so that you're not interrupted all the time and you're not looking around all different places for those questions. And then our final sentence here is to repeat that deadline. Now, normally, to be concise, we would not repeat ourselves, but your deadline is one thing you want to repeat, and you want it to be at the beginning and at the end, especially, because that's where the human eye will light. If they're skimming through, they're going to see it. So, otherwise, simply drop your see, I said simply, so easy. Everything's easy. I'm setting a tone of easy. Simply drop your time card in my door box by 5 p.m. Tuesday. And I try to make sure I get this deadline right at the very end. It's the very last thing in the memo. So don't even say thank you. Just leave it right there so you have your last thing as your deadline. Good. Now you know how to build excellent pieces of communication that will do what you want them to do and generate the kind of responses you really want.